And we could also see my aunts and uncles' children, my cousins, so that my daughters and sons could see my relationship to my parents, me, and them. What was the purpose of that? So that I could identify how alcoholism and addiction of drugs and many other societal problems exist within our family structure. So I had them color in every addict, every alcoholic, every person who had a problem, everyone who went to jail, etc., so that they could see the pattern that flowed through my family tree. That way I could bring to their attention, you are subject to become an alcoholic if you drink. You are subject to become an addict if you use. I'm not saying they will, but I'm saying, but if you look at the history of the family, and then I get to me and say, and I have broken the cycle, and this is how I did it. So now, for my children, the first thing was to eliminate the I did not know answer. In my family, that cannot be the answer because I'm giving them information. Information they feel they don't need or want. So I say, well, just put it on the shelf, file it away. You're gonna come across a challenge that requires this answer. You will already have it. So now, then I looked at what is opiate or other drugs like that. What are its characteristics? Is it a 6-speed or 4-speed? Is it an automatic or a manual? Does it have run flat tires or not? Is it an electric car or a gas car? I wanted them to know the characteristics of what they're dealing with. So let me go there. So I'm going to use information from literature that is I am not the author of. However, this is really good literature. One says, can I control my use of any form of mind or mood-altering chemicals? Can I do that? A chemical designed to alter my mood and my mind. That's what it's designed to do. So if I put it in me, I'm not in control anymore. Well, if that's the case, I will reach a point where we could no longer continue using because of physical, mental, and spiritual pain. We just heard a lot of pain being discussed here. The results of using is pain. I'm saying that that pain actually has characteristics. It comes at you spiritually, you in pain, physically, you in pain, mentally, you in pain from using. Now, I shared these with my children when they were younger, and then when they became adults, again. So then I said, well, let's go in deeper. What is the physical pain? It's compulsive. Now what I'm sharing with you now is, what does opiate do when it's in the body? So now it's in me. What is it doing? This is what it does, and this is what it's designed to do. One, it's compulsive, resulting from or relating to an irresistible urge, especially one that is against one's conscious wishes. So this thing is in me, causing a compulsion in me physically. It makes me move against my conscious wishes. I'm truly not in control. That's just the physical content. And if that's not bad enough, how about this one? It also has a mental aspect. Man, we said physical, mental, and spiritual pain. So there's the physical pain. I do not want to go there. I cannot help but go. I'm supposed to go to work. I'm not going to work. I'm supposed to take care of the baby. I'm not taking care of the baby. I'm supposed to eat. I'm not eating. How about this one? The mental aspect. That's obsession, an idea or thought that continually preoccupies or intrudes on my personal mind. Now I'm suffering physically, and I can't get it off my mind. This is not what Keith wants to do, but this is what opiates and other drugs like that do. They have a result once they're in you. So we just talked about the physical. If that's not bad enough, then you got the mental. There's one more. How about the spiritual aspect of it? It said mental, spiritual, and physical pain. Now, I took some notes because I don't want you to think this is my opinion or this is what it is. I've studied this, and I challenge you to do the same and share your results, please, with your family and your friends. But here, let's go. Spiritual. The spiritual aspect is self-centeredness. See, what is that? Concern solely with one's own desires, needs, and interests. Often feel threatened, vulnerable, and anxious, insecure with others. So here I am suffering. The drug is in me, and I'm having a physical compulsion to get more. Now, coupled with, I gotta stop doing this, but now I'm mentally obsessed with getting more, with a compulsion to go get it, with a mental drive to follow it, get it, with a spiritual saying, I can't tell nobody about this because I'm paranoid, and I'm insecure. You are gripped, and that's what we're dealing with. So now you have to get to where you need Narcan. What else can take you off of that? Something they have to put in you to force you out. Force you out. And once you get out, the same person that took the first one is just going to go use again. So we have to change that person's behavior. Now, that's a whole nother series, a whole nother set of things, but I wanted to hit those points. Why did I want it to go there? Because I said, what are we here for? I woke up this morning and it said, Keith, what are you going there for? What are you going there for? So I said, okay, what am I going there for? He said, F-O-R. Fruits of recovery. That's why I'm here. I'm here for the fruit of recovery. Thank you. There's more, but got 10 minutes. Keep coming back.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. And we've had a taste of Mr. Robinson before, so we are very grateful for his insight, his reflection, and as I said in the beginning, we have dynamic speakers here, and we're hopefully enjoying it and learning and educating ourselves. And this program we're doing, and our concentration here, Master Muhammad, at this point is really the youth. And so the series here for men, sons, fathers is critical. Not that the others aren't, but and I didn't get the actual percentage, but I'm aware of what's going on here and in other cities, especially inner cities, disenfranchised people who look like us. And this is nothing new. This has just transpired and gone to get even more serious to our youth. I'm talking about teenagers, adolescents, and teenagers. So it's very important that this message is brought down to our children, and the children are here, or young adults, young teenagers are here so that they can feel a part of it, so that they can be a part of the healing and heal themselves or avoid the things that they may see every day anyway, and I'm sure they do. School, they're walking from home to here, and many times many of us don't respond until it hits us, but it's just an iota away from hitting us, and so we have to thank God. And I want to especially bring up what Mr. Robinson was saying about many times we have this addictive behavior, and this comes from our history, our abuse, and all of the things that we've been brought to our communities for so long. It's kind of embedded. It's kind of like second nature almost, to see it in your own family. Many of us have been touched either directly or indirectly. And why we here at Master Muhammad, the faith community, we say the remembrance of God is the greatest thing. Why? Because all good comes from God, and the bad comes from us. So if we're not following God, then we're following something else that's probably detrimental, or it can lead to that. So we want to be guided by the creator of all the worlds, okay? And whatever you want to call your creator, but it is, we are humans and subservient to the creator, and we're the creation. So we want to thank Mr. Robinson and others, and now we want to bring on our third, actually fourth guest, Mr. Richard Williams. And if you want to sit here.
Okay. Oh, did you want me to come up?
You can actually sit here. Or you can sit
Well,
here.
I want to be a part of. Thank you, brother. Okay. First, I'd like to say assalamu alaikum to the family. And it's an honor and a pleasure to be here. I'm Richard Williams. I'm a son of Washington, D.C. I born in Freedman's Hospital, which people now call Howard University Hospital, but it's around the corner. And I'm the fourth of 5 children. I have 2 older sisters, 1 older brother, and 1 younger brother. I went to Whittier Elementary School, Paul Junior High, and I did 1 year high school at Coolidge and 1 year high school at Spotsylvania Senior High School, which is down in Virginia, south of Fredericksburg. That's a home place where my parents, grandparents, many aunts, uncles, and cousins reside in a family place where we born. Most of my family born down in that region of Virginia, and we migrated to all the places. I came up in a 2-person family household, 2-parent household, mother and father, public servants, worked hard, taught us about hard work. My parents would take us up the street and we rented a plot on a garden where we would learn how to plant crops and nurture the crops and harvest them. I learned how to feed the livestock when I would go to Virginia, fish and hunt, and to be self-sufficient. I was sent to the religious institution of my family, and in the summers go to vacation Bible school, and was taught what I need to know, taught in the Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, and at that time, in our neighborhood, you could leave your door unlocked, and the neighbors had keys to your house, and you would get a spanking or whipping by the neighbors if you did wrong. And then your parents, when your father found out, your parents found out, you might get it again. What I'm talking about was a family dynamic that I was raised in that was very positive. And despite that, I made decisions that caused me to be a dope fiend addict right here in this city. And I would run from North Capitol Street to 14th Street, shooting dope, shooting drugs, and I was a kid that was afraid of needles. And how I got there, I'm not sure, and it really don't matter today. Today, as a result of this community, I'm here to say that I've been clean for over 38 years, drug and alcohol free. And it's been a lot of work, and I really wasn't planning on dressing up today. When I thought about my mother, my sisters, my brother, my family, my son might be here, I was raised and we were taught as young men, when I started going to 7th grade, we would iron our pants till they stood up with starch. So I knew how to tie a tie, we knew how to dress. We didn't wear high waters, which is fashionable now. We call them snake eyes, but that's another story. And we prided ourselves. We had a lot of pride. And, I asked my parents to let me go into the Air Force at 17. Of course, I had a plan to go into the military, get my GED, go to college, get my degree, become a doctor and a pilot, I think I told them, in 1972. I went in the Air Force, had a good service for a while, was over in European theater, Middle East, traveled a lot of the countries, a lot of the Muslim countries, Morocco, Turkey, Iraq, Iran, places like that. And but I was getting high. I was using the products to get high when I was in those places. And it started off as fun and games and drinking and all that. At some point in time, I crossed this invisible line called addiction and didn't realize it until I got back to Washington. And my body, like Keith was talking about, was reacting physically because I didn't have any more of those drugs to put in me. And I went around the corner to some of my good friends that we grew up together in the Cub Scout, Boy Scouts, and playing, neighborhood sports, and told them what was wrong. They said, you got a habit. And they brought me down here to Riggs Street, and we bought some dope, and they shot me up. I still was afraid of needles, but I stuck my arm out. And when I got that, I could go to work at the post office and do my jobs and things like that. But I didn't know it was that big of a problem. I still thought I had some control. I didn't know I was out of control. And soon thereafter, I started getting in trouble with the law, having run-ins with the law. And my second home became 1901 East Street, which is the DC jail. And thank God for the DC jail, because it saved me from me, because if I stayed out on the streets, I would have experienced many more overdoses and death. And I knew in my spirit I was going to die from the disease of addiction. And the feelings of shame, guilt, because I didn't do what I promised my parents I would do. And, the shame from being in a family and knowing better but couldn't do better was, and that secret and shame that Keith talked about was overwhelming, and I didn't know what to do. So fortunately, I was playing basketball this particular day over at the jail, and this guy said, oh, you're a veteran. You can use that as your get out of jail free card. I ain't know nothing about these things. I just was a nice little kid from uptown that lost his way. So I did what they told me to do, call the lawyer, have the lawyer tell the judge I wanted to go to treatment. I didn't know what treatment was. I thought it was a place where we go as veterans and play ping pong, shoot pool all day. We pitch pennies and play tonk and talk stuff. And I get to this treatment program, and there was a woman there and 3 or 4 other guys, and they had one chair. They set the chair in the middle of the floor. They told me to sit in it. They told me to take everything out of my pocket, she says. I took one DC driver's permit, put it under the chair like I was instructed, one door key, and one $20 bill. And she said, how old are you, Richard? I said, I'm 27 years old. She said, the sum total of your life is one door key, probably to your mother's house. And I started sweating. I got afraid. I was, how'd she know that? She said, a driver's license and a $20 bill that your mother probably gave you. I was sweating profusely because it was all the truth. And I wondered, who told her? And what these people knew, they knew what the opioids and the addictions does to our body. I didn't realize it. And so she told me to do certain things to ask for help. And it was like a foreign thing to do. I didn't know how to ask for help. I said, help. She said, well, you on the back of this ship and you fell off. And you're in the ocean. And I said, well, I'm just going to tread water and say, help. She said, oh, you're going to drown. It's over for you. And she said, help. And one of the guys said, help! And I yelled out, help! And when I yelled out, help, I started crying and sobbing and snot running out my nose. And I felt a sense of relief for the first time in a long time. All that pent-up pain and anger and despair came out. And they came up to me and hugged me and told me, you don't have to live this way anymore if you didn't want to. And this is how we make the change. And I followed these people's instructions. And I found a new path in life. And it was through some 12-step programs, it was through some religious things. But what I found was that I had a value. And in that value, I realized my family never stopped loving and caring. I was the one that couldn't go home because of my shame and guilt and would sleep in Rock Creek Park and sleep in cars and things like that. And I started working on rebuilding. And in that rebuilding process, I met this gentleman here and many more like all of us. And I become an instrument of my community to give back. That's why I'm here today, because I'm talking to you young men. Because when we grew up, we had an opioid crisis. I didn't know about it at the time, even though I became a part of it. And here we are again with the opioid crisis, and it's 10 times worse than when I grew up. And one of the solutions I know that we still have a need for long-term inpatient treatment program, because I stayed in that program for at least 6 months, inpatient. I lived in that hospital up there at VA for 6 months, and when I came out, they put me in another program, which they call it outpatient treatment, for months, and that gave me the opportunity of a couple years, primarily the first year, to get a foundation. And within that foundation, I was able to start to make little goals for myself and accomplish them on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, and I started to reintroduce myself back into the life of the mainstream of life by going back to work. I didn't become a predator to the community. I was working, and then I started to have something called dreams and think about what I wanted. And in those dreams, I, thought about having a family, and as God's mercy and grace would allow, I am a product of what people call a father and a family today, because I now have 5 kids in the same makeup that I was in. I have 2 daughters, that's the oldest. I have twin sons, that's 28. I have a 29-year-old daughter and a 35-year-old daughter, and I have a 21-year-old daughter. And my 28-year-old sons, one of them I think is on the panel through the technology. My youngest son is 21. He's a senior up at Howard, and he's down in Atlanta at on the football team. They have a football classic, HBCU football classic in Georgia. The other twin is down in Georgia, and my wife is down in Georgia. And so my children, thank God, that I don't know. I may have children over in Europe and the Middle East. I don't know, because I was an irresponsible young man at that time, where I didn't protect myself when I was having sex and intercourse with women. But I don't know, and if they do, if I do have sons, thank God, or children, I've told my children, and one day somebody might come knocking at your grandma's door, say that I think my father's your father, and I told them to welcome that person home. Because what I come to understand as part of this community, that I have to work in any way I can to be part of the solution, because I understand what the solution is today. I'm so glad that I walked in and I heard the presentation on the Narcan, because I've always heard about Narcan. I didn't have the experience or the opportunity to use the Narcan when we were there, because it wasn't developed. But I want to have some to be available. I hope I can walk upon a person, an addict like myself, that's in need, and I can administer and help save a life, because what I'm trying to do is save somebody's life, because they saved my life, because I knew I was going to die, and I couldn't do nothing about stopping my death. I didn't know about help, and I was prepared to die. At 21, I acknowledged in my mind I'd be dead by 25, and I didn't know that it was help available. At 25, I moved the number up to 30, and through God's grace, between 25 and 30, things happened that made a change. So what I'm talking about is that if it can happen for me to change, then it can happen for anyone. But like Keith, I want to express to the young men, you don't have to go down that path. There's many other paths. I mentor young folks in IT. I have a background in IT. I teach IT classes. If you haven't heard of something called Cisco Academy, there's IT, A+, Security Plus, and these are IT jobs that I tell young people all the time that you can get. You don't have to have a college degree. I've been adjunct professor over at UDC teaching some of these classes in the for its development program. So it's a lot of opportunity out here for people who want it and for people who don't want it, because a lot of times people don't know what they want until they start seeking what's available or how to help. Because one of the greatest mysteries for me was there was help. And even though some of my superiors tried to offer me help, I could never see the problem because it was too elusive, because it wasn't bad enough. My mindset of what an alcoholic and an addict was a person that looked like me that might be laying on the ground, or a person that looked like me that might be laying in a doorway. But our job is to raise the bottom, so you don't have to go to those lengths. If you think you gotta, if you're smoking reefer today or marijuana, that's my fear. Because now that marijuana is legal, marijuana and alcohol was the gateway drug for me to those others. And I still think that's prevalent today, that people that drink, people that use the marijuana, I think that still can be, like Keith talked about, that component in our family. Predisposition, that's what I talk to my kids about. I talked about, because I was an addict and alcoholic, and a lot of my uncles and aunts were, I told them about that predisposition in our family to alcohol and drugs, and to be careful if they drink. I can't tell people, you know, as a father I try, but I don't, but to be available to them, I try to be more available in a posture of humility and listening rather than dictating, because I've learned that dictating don't really work. So I hope that something I shared might help somebody. If you got any questions, I'm available at any point in time. I'll leave my number and my contact information to continue this conversation. Thanks for the opportunity to be here. Thank you, sir, for your sharing. Thank you for your sharing, sir. And thank you, Mr. Robinson.
I want to thank all of our dynamic presenters. And I want to just comment on, thank you. I just want to comment on Mr. Williams. Intervention is a valuable resource that is not concentrated as much in our community as treatment and therapeutic, taking another drug to overcome another drug. And this was a reflection for me that it works, because we have 4 sources here that young people alone, even other adult men, and again, this is the men, sons, and father, sons, and men recovery program we're talking about, that in recovery, intervention is a big deal. And how do we get that? We get that through experienced individuals, those that have experienced a lot of the same things that we see people overdosing today, and having problems trying to recover. One of the things that Mr. Williams mentioned was wanting to be good, not have to be in recovery, not being addicted. So it's a difference in a need and a recovery, in wanting to. And I can see that with many, and if they see they have the opportunity. So I want to thank everyone here, all the presenters, but I want to open up the floor to questions and answers series. So if anyone has questions, please let me know, and we can continue on with our conversation. I do have a couple myself.
We have one more person that we want to join. I'm trying to see if this works.
Okay, online? Yes.
So, Brother Richard?
Speak up a little louder, sir. Yes. Coming through, loud and clear.
Do you need?
All right, how's everybody? My name is Richard Jr. I'm the son of Richard, who just shared, and I am the 3rd child of 5. Two older sisters, a twin brother, and a younger brother. Like my dad said, they're now the game, Howard. But growing up, I knew that my parents who have been addicts before I was
the work, that other important piece with the 100-year-olds and the seniors, please.
Right, so with my full-time job, I work with the Department of Aging, where I work with seniors and adults with disabilities, and we, are the state agency on aging, and we do a lot of work to provide program services for seniors and adults with disabilities. The events range from senior symposium each year to a senior holiday celebration where we have seniors come together to celebrate, because our model of aging is living, so we always have so much great, we always have ways to celebrate, and we just kind of push that out. Next month in September is National Centenarian Day, on September 22nd, and a centenarian, to those who don't know, is a senior who, after about, we have about 60 centenarians in DC, and that's just now. And those aren't all the centenarians, those are just the ones that are participating in our celebration, but we're going to be going out, volunteering and delivering packages directly to the homes of centenarians. So the work that I do is very, I'm honored to work with this population. My grandma, aunts, uncles live in the city. So a lot of the work I do, I kind of cross paths with my own family, people that I grew up in church with. It's a lot of great role models and a lot of great ways that we can highlight seniors. So, if anybody there is 60 and up in DC, we're the Department of Aging. We have 6 wellness centers across the city. So if you want to connect with us and learn more about our program, you can check those senior wellness centers out.
Okay. Thank you for that. We're really interested in what you shared with us.
We actually have,
Yeah.
our program is called EBAR.
Right.
And we have a senior center 1 year where we feed the seniors each day for lunch. And it's through the Department of Aging. So we do have our institution does have a relationship with you all already. But definitely we would like to connect with you to see what other kind of opportunities that we can partner on. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Amazing. I'll send my message to me. I'll be in contact with when I reach out.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions? I do have a question. Oh, Sister Sharon, yes.
Thank you. Gentlemen, this was excellent. This was just so necessary. And to see African American males sit here and own up to their truth, it is just so healing. Just a little background, I've been working in healthcare for 32 years. So basically, we don't have time to talk about the fact that fentanyl was behind the lock and key of the pharmacy. And we don't have time to talk about how it got out there. We just know that it's here, and we have to work together to deal with it. I just wanted to add that with that Narcan, you also want to encourage people to learn just CPR, basic hands-only CPR, should someone stop breathing. And yes, use that 911 on that cell phone, put it on speaker, they'll talk you in. But thank you so much for your journey, because you're here because you're supposed to be here. So thank you.
Thank you, Sister Sharon. I have a question, and it's posed to the youth, the young adults. I know we had a 20-year-old, he's not here, but teenagers. Were you able to understand how, if you needed to give Narcan to someone, and because one of the concentration is for you to see it happens a lot with those your age nowadays. That's an epidemic here in the city. So my concern is that you have a strong hold, and if not, perhaps we can get with Mr. Binion and be able to share that kind of training, so that, and you can invite your friends and your neighbors and your school and those kind of things. So were you able to get a good hold on? Yeah. Okay. Good. That was a question I needed to ask. Another question I had. You mentioned Vivitrol. Now, I've heard of it, but I don't see it. And you mentioned that, of course, it's a trickle-down effect into our community for reasons. And so, do you have Do you have any information on that along with Narcan?
What I'd like to do is, so the medication is not new. Actually, the molecule, the substance was discovered in the late 60s. So it was first approved for alcohol and then later on for opioids. It has come to the attention of the community in general because of the increase in opioid fatalities amongst non-people of color. And so that has opened the door for everyone to access it, but I don't see a lot of marketing or promoting of it in our community. One of the things that I did was take it to RAP, which is 4th Street, and encourage and facilitate not only the in-service by the pharmaceutical company, meaning educate the staff on it, but also to have them buy into it so that when we have 8 opioid addicts that came into RAP last week that all overdosed, one guy overdosed 9 times last month, is to, as soon as you raise your hand and you say you have an opioid history, we need to be checking to see if you are a candidate for Vivitrol before you get out. That's why I met him at 10:02 a.m. and you got discharged at 10. We need to at least have that as an option for somebody that may not be able to stop, right? So I can provide the information. It's DC Medicaid pays for that injection. It's one injection a month in the hip, which I didn't tell him until after he got to the office. But I partner with Medical Home Group, which is an African-American owned and operated office at 2112 F Street. Dr. Sendas is the clinician, and she's the one that administers Vivitrol. And I also take people where I would go. So I think we were in and out in 45 minutes. It was amazing. And so I have a community partner. We have providers that know how to administer it effectively. And the most important thing is the follow-up care. So not just the shot, but all the other supportive services. So I have the information on the medication, and I have medication on information on Medical Home Group, which I can provide to Sister Coffee here. And so if you have somebody that can't stop, doesn't know about it, then we, as you didn't, and then we basically say, this is an option. Because one thing is for certain, if you're on it, you won't be able to get high. And so the very least, which is a great thing, it's going to save a life, right? Because some people can't stop. It's a treatment. It's given once every 30 days. So it's an injection. They have a pill form, Vivitrol. I'll write it down. Vivitrol. They have a pill form. The chemical name is naltrexone. I don't suggest the pill form because I've had numerous clients that leave that door open. You know what I mean? So the pill you would take daily, but if you want to use, you're not going to take the pill. Let's be clear on that, right? So I don't play games. If you're interested in stopping, you need to seriously consider the injection because once it's in you, it's in you. What we do see is there's a window period. So there are 31 days in August. So if you got it on the 1st of August, the titers or the levels of the drug are very high at the first few days. But as the days go on, the level of the drug subsides. So there's a window period between, say, the 26th of August and the 1st of September. If you don't get that shot, you can use. And we've had addicts, how clever addicts think they are. Pharmacists, chemists, and astronauts and all of that, they end up using. But what the danger is, you are very susceptible to an overdose because your tolerance is basically 0. Because remember, that whole area has been blocked, right? So once the 30 days is over or close, this is clean, so to speak. So if you use, you can just overdose like that. So you're not able to do the same amount, you know, and so so we don't encourage people that are on the fence, that are not sure if they want to use, you know, because I've had clients on Vivitrol that tried to use on top of it, and some of them are not here. So, so we, you know, and that's part of the assessment that the medical team will do. They'll assess how long the person's been on opiates, their desire to use, how many times they've been in treatment, how many times they've overdosed, and then they will test to see how healthy the liver is by taking a blood test. If the liver is healthy, then they will do the prior authorization required for DC Medicaid, which is pretty quickly. I like Medical Home Group because they stock the medicine in the office. So as opposed to other offices, you got to write a prescription, they got to send it to DC Medicaid, they got to get approval, the medicine then has to be shipped to the office, and the person has to come back, if they come back, to get it. This way, it's a one-stop shop. Appointment, shot. I mean, appointment, medical, blood draw, but he was, you must have been one addict, because when we get ready to leave, he's like, I need my blood work. And because the blood work is going to tell the doctor if the liver is healthy enough to take it. And he wasn't going to leave. He stayed in front of RAP, and he had them running around RAP trying to get the blood work, right? So we were able to, I took a screenshot of the blood work, sent it to the doctor, and then she had the telemedicine appointment on the phone. And then after the telemedicine appointment, we got in the car, and I took him right there. So it was a great thing. But I like Medical Home Group because they understand our people. It is run by our people, and they understand addiction, and they understand the population we're treating. So they're able to, they're great clinicians, and they're I think they were very compassionate, nice, and very supportive. So I'll give you that information. So the idea is you stay on it as long as, not you feel, but is, what did the doctor tell you? Because usually what it is a decision between the patient and the provider. Most people I find that I link to that medication, we try to get them on to stay on it until they become stable, meaning they plugged into recovery. They're moved out of a toxic environment. They are maybe have a part-time job. They're on psych meds, because you can't pull that so fast without those other supportive mechanisms in place. So like I said, it's just one piece to the puzzle. The puzzle, as you know, is very complicated, but we can simplify it by providing the support. Yeah, you wanted to say something? No.
That's one of the things I asked for was because I wanted to know the risk factors. I'm too a retired healthcare worker, 41 years, and I know, I'm sorry, I'm a retired healthcare worker, and I know the going pharmaceutical or the health professions is the risk, the benefit outweighs the risk, and that's usually in medication. And so you can have something that works, but how does it work? Does it work at risk of another organ in your body or part of your body is compromised, or that, you may have to take it for the rest of your life, and then you have to be, you have to watch it. You have to be careful,
So one thing about Vivitrol is it does not have an opioid component.
At all.
It's not like Suboxone
Or methadone, okay.
So if he decides not to take it, that hopefully that's not going to happen. If you decide not to take it in, say, October, November, there's no withdrawal symptoms.
Gotcha.
Because it's no opiate. And I'm not an advocate of anybody that has an opiate history of being on any opiate-containing killer. So if you're trying to get off of an opiate, my go-to is not methadone or Suboxone, because people use on top of the Suboxone. They sell the Suboxone, they use on top of methadone. It keeps us in a cycle, a perpetual cycle of using, and in an environment where there's a lot of drugs. You go to Good Hope Road, the methadone clinic, we call it the flea market. Across the street, you can get anything you want. You know what I mean? But you're supposed to go in and get meth, but then when you come out, you go across the street and buy anything. So it's not good for us, and the Suboxone there's a street value. So if I want to do dope, I just take some of my Suboxone and sell them. You know what I mean? So it just keeps you, who am I selling to? I'm selling to another opiate addict. You know what I mean? Well, this is a shot. It's once a month. You go into an office. It's private, and you can't take it out, right? And so it's literally saving lives. Yeah.
Thank God.
No, and this leads questions, but I'm not gonna ask all the questions. Oh, okay. Leave it to the audience. There you go, sir.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank all the panelists for coming and sharing their information. Yes, I would like to thank the panelists for coming and sharing their information. I do have a question. Once a person comes out of detox, is there any do they have access to supplementation products to help them bring the body back into balance? That's not used? Oh, okay. Okay. Okay.
Anybody want to answer that?
What I used for a supplement was, my appetite was back, so I would eat and exercise. If that's what if I understand what your question was. So I think what I understood from the question you were asking, were they like vitamins or something? Well, I have no medical background, but I'm talking about with my experience. I just worked. I got back to a regimen of working out, and it was light. It was, just light stuff that I could do. Mind you, I'm talking about for me I was 28, so now, as an older man, my workout regimen is much different. It's bicycling and walking and riding, but healthy eating is the mainstay for us to get our bodies back. Because I forgot to mention about the ramifications of my health that drugs impacted me, and primarily my liver. But fortunately, I was able to. The drug Harvani came along at the right time in my life that I was able to take it, and it stopped the disease in my liver. Thank you.
When I went into treatment 36 years ago, I went to a facility called Psychiatric Institute of Washington, D.C. Excuse me. When I went into the treatment center, my body frame is the frame I have now, but I only weighed 135 pounds. I was near death as a result of using, and I was a valedictorian college graduate at that time. So there I'm in treatment. So when I got out, I gained 20 pounds before I came out of treatment. But while I was there, a nutritionist was there who taught me about eating well, changing my eating habits. My life pattern. Do you sleep at night? Do you rest? So I was given basic information that a body needs to restore itself. And then they had referral programs from the treatment facility that introduced me to programs in the nation's capital to help me with education, jobs, living quarters. So those are the types of supplements that were made available to me when I was an addict in recovery.
Okay. Thank you. If there are any more questions, we want to close up. We've had an enlightened series. It's now about 10 to 4, well, 3:45. And if there's no more questions, if anyone wants to close out, give everybody a minute to, any last words you want to say? We'd love to hear.
I have sons and daughters. My daughter just recently came to me. The reason why I brought that subject up about the family template was she repeated that back to me. She said, "Dad, the reason I don't use it today is because the information you gave me." She said it scared me straight. So when she's out with her friends and hanging out, my voice comes to her. This is my daughter's testimony just recently within the last month. Thank you.
I'd like to thank you all, Sister Coffee and everyone that's partook in putting this together, and I'll be honored to come back again, and hopefully next time I'll be able to bring more of my family. To the young folks, I'm here to help you in any way I can to pursue your dreams. When I talk to young people, I ask them some basic questions that I wished I had been proposed with. I asked them, what do you want to be doing in the next 10 years? How much money you want to make? And then go look at, what's that website where you look for jobs? Indeed.com, and look for those jobs that you want, because everybody wants $100,000, but you have to put some work in. I'm part of an organization called the CTC Flying Club. I always wanted to fly. I didn't get to fly when I was 17 through 20 when I was in Air Force, but now I've gone back, worked on my private pilots, and we look to young people that might want to fly. We have programs for you all. And, you know, and that wasn't something that was in my black community when I came, but right now, the sky's the limit for you all. You all can do anything you can dream of, but you have to come to adults and ask us to help you get it done. Because we now have resources of other people that are willing to help in any way they can. So whatever you want to do, just ask somebody. And, you know, if you ask us to coffee, she'll call us, and we'll ask some more people. And that's how this community is working. We're working in positive ways despite the ongoing travesty of what opioids is doing in our community. We still are trying to do positive things. Thank you. You. Please.
For this gentleman that someone said, I was asked one day by a friend, because I do concrete work, steps, patios, driveways. He said, Larry, where you see yourself at in 5 years? And I looked at him in his eyes and told him, I don't know. I never thought I'd be an addict. I thought I was perfect, hiding, doing this and that, but it caught up with me. And I suggest for the young people, you know, get the shot if you can. If your liver healthy enough, get the shot. I think that's where it's working for me. It definitely is. It's working for me because, as I said earlier, when I found my friend in that bed dead, I know what I would have went at after that. So it worked for me. Thank you.
I want to, you know, it's interesting. I think sometimes, let me speak for myself. Sometimes I look at numbers, right? And I think every program that I go to, there should be 100 people in here, right? But it's not the number, it's the quality. This was an outstanding program. And I already knew that it was going to be, right, when I got the invitation. So I want to extend a thank you again and for your hard work. We're just trying to save one life at a time. I also want to thank the gentleman on the panel that shared along with me. I don't think this is the first time I met this gentleman here, Mr. Williams. It's awesome to meet you. And I definitely want to acknowledge the gentleman to my right for his effort in making a change. And we want to support other brothers and fathers like him who are out there who are struggling and don't know where the help is and how to access the help. I think, you know, one of the things I see in our community when I'm in treatment or I'm working in transitional programs, we have a hard time asking for help. We see that as weakness. You know, we really have a hard time asking for help. So I think, you know, we have a lot of work to do in that area. You know, I think we don't have to necessarily wait for a person to ask us. We can present the help to them. So I want to thank you again.
Thank you so much, all our dynamic presenters, Mr. Williams, Mr. Binion, and Mr. Robinson, and Mr. Clyburn. Right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's been a great panel and much education. We look forward to having you again and sharing your information, valuable information. and we'll hope to partner with you all on a regular basis, because our goal is to do more work in the community. It's a responsibility of ours, an obligation, and we want to extend that as time goes on. So whatever you can do, hopefully you can assist us in our project and outreach and all the other things. So we want to thank you again, and we ask God to bless you in your endeavors, in your long recovery process, and you, Mr. Clyburn, as a new person, we pray for you, and thank you again, Mr. Binion. So we want to close out and in a prayer, and with God's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. By the token of time, through the ages, man is in loss, except those such as have faith and do righteous deeds and join together in the mutual teachings of truth, patience, and constancy. Amen. Amen. Thank you again, and we definitely want to thank the Department of Behavioral Health for partnering with us, allowing us to partner with them to put on a program like this for our 4th consecutive year. And we look forward to having you Monday to join in with mothers, daughters, youth and families. We have youth and families on Monday here, yes, in the evening. And we also we're going to have virtual in September on mental health and recovery and women, mothers, daughters. So hopefully you can join in with us, participate online. It will be definitely online, virtual for those, and we'll give you the information. So thanks again. May God bless you all. Peace.